Alright guys, this is going to be a fairly short video today, because basically it's just going to be an update on my tinnitus, because, I'm still, it's pretty hectic around here. Like I think I've mentioned it here and there, my granddad died recently, so there's a lot going on that I can't do anything about. I don't have much time to do the YouTube stuff, which is a shame, but, ooh, there we go, good mic. But yeah, I'll get back to it before too long. But yeah, so basically my tinnitus has changed recently within the last week or so. It has become quieter, yet more piercing, and it's gone back to the stage it was at when I first got the spike, 7-8 months ago, back in August last year anyway. It's gone back to that state, and if I do this now, I can feel it. It's almost like an electronic click, it's like kind of like cracking your knuckles. I was going to demo it, but I've got the mic in my hand. But yeah, it's almost like when you crack your knuckles, it's that sort of thing, but it's not in the bone. I don't know quite how to describe it. I think it's an electronic type thing, or a pressure or something, but when I do it, I feel the pressure in my head, in my ear sort of area, it drops back a lot, just for a split second or something, and the main piercing tinnitus sound that I've got that I would, say, oh yeah, that's my tinnitus, that comes away completely when I do it, just for a second or so, just for a split second. And the only sound that's left is just a very gentle, very quiet background electronic type hiss. But yeah, and it's been about 4 or 5 months since I was at a stage where the tinnitus would vary that much in response to moving about and that, doing that now. I did window cleaning yesterday, and just every movement is switching on and off, which, I consider this a good sign of progress. But it's really made me pay more attention to the tinnitus, which, I don't mind. It doesn't bug me emotionally or anything, even when it's loud, but it's quite funny. I keep laughing about it during the day, because it's varying that much, and it wasn't varying at all. It would get generally quieter and generally louder over the course of a day or a few days. It wouldn't vary like this, and it hasn't done for months, and that was when I first really started to despair when I got the spike. All those months ago. It took a couple of months to get to a point after the spike started where it was getting louder and louder and louder. It took a couple of months to get to the point where it just, wasn't responding to this stuff, or swinging my legs would do it. Anything that affected my spine or my neck, basically, anything that stretched it or moved it, it would affect the sound. But yeah, it's back to the stage now where I can click my tinnitus off. It doesn't come off completely, it's still a tiny bit there, but for the most part, unless I'm really paying attention, it clicks it off, which, hasn't done that for a long time, so that's a definite sign of progress, if you ask me, if it's starting to vary downward like that at all. Whether I've got to manually do it or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's low enough and responsive enough now that it's starting to go back. It's starting to change back. So yeah, that's the main bit with, my progress so far, me updating you guys on what state I'm at. And the main bit that's changed is, first of all, there's all sorts going on, in the, with like my granddad dying and all that sort of stuff. There's all sorts of things going on that I'm not in control of, but it's a bit different than when I'm normally getting stressed by external stresses, because I know, I can't do anything about it. Don't worry about it, basically, and emotionally I'm taking that seriously. I'm actually doing it, which is why my tinnitus hasn't spiked with all this stuff going on. And my entire environment is, stress going on left, right, and centre, because, obviously family members are dealing with this, some are taking it worse than I am, all this sort of thing. There's all sorts going on, having a sort of funeral and things, but I'm dealing with it much better than I've dealt with actual objective stresses in my life. I'm dealing with it a lot better than I have done for years. So that's a hell of a good sign. And and the main bit that I've been doing, the reason why I think my tinnitus is improving, is I'm taking it more and more seriously with the emotional stuff. And I'm trying to think about it less, but emotionally do more, because a lot of this stuff will seem quite strange, but the key point is, and I'll be posting links to a paper that I've read on it, from a website called Wise Brain, and hopefully I can get away with posting links. I don't know how it works with copyright or things like that. I really have no idea, so I'm going to bung it there, and hopefully it doesn't get like a strike or taken down or whatever. I don't know how it works. But so I'll bung that there, and please, go read it, close this video, go read that. It's really good. It starts to get into some of the details of, like in the past where I've said, our thoughts and our emotions, they affect what our bodies do physically, they affect how our bodies build themselves, all this sort of stuff. It's explaining some of the details why, because there's all sorts of aspects to our nervous system, but the two main ones we got to concern ourselves with are the sympathetic part of the nervous system, which is the stress response, fight or flight or freeze, that sort of thing. And then there's the parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, repair, that sort of stuff. And yeah, these are very real, very, medically sound, completely sound, they're very real things. But I think the main issue with this stuff, and the reason why it's not more respected from like doctors and that sort of thing, is if you start acknowledging that emotional stress and things like that have that big of an impact on our health, we have to acknowledge how fucking out of whack it is in our day-to-day society. Because the average human adult in Western civilization, we have, like it says in the paper, and it's my favourite bit in it, the way we live is completely unnatural. And I don't mean webcams and laptops and TVs and all this sort of stuff, that's just technology. But the way we live our lives, basically the natural state we're meant to be in is with the parasympathetic system on most of the time, very relaxed, very content, very at ease, and then the odd spike of stress, not a great big flat chronic level, no, a spike, something like a tiger or something, or where you'll be low on food, you'll have to go out hunting for it, that sort of thing, those kinds of things. I don't want to give too many examples back in the day, because obviously we don't know for certain what things were like, but the point is, naturally, we are definitely built to be relaxed as a baseline, and most of us aren't. Most of us that have gotten that far out of whack that we've got tinnitus, most of you here watching these videos, if you think you're relaxed, chances are you aren't actually relaxed or content. You're probably numb, and there's a big difference. Sorry about that. It's getting pretty busy in this house, but I'll try to finish this video off because it's not going to be too long. The basic point I'm getting at is check the paper and see how it applies to you, because basically what I was on about is, we have to look hard. If we're this far out of whack that we're getting tinnitus and things like that, and I know a lot of you will have other health ailments, I've got certain things, none of it that you would necessarily classify clinically if you went to a doctor, but they're definitely real things, But, what I was getting at was, basically, we take it as a given that life is stressful, and it's not meant to be. We're meant to be relaxed as a baseline, we're meant to be calm. It's the only way that you're actually healthy, because most of us, in the West especially, we live constantly in a constant adapted state where we're constantly living with the sympathetic nervous system switched on, which is only meant to deal with short-term stresses, some sort of predator, or being short on food for a while or whatever, starving, this sort of thing. And this is why, a lot of people, this is how stress can make you obese, because when you get into that sympathetic nervous state, away from the parasympathetic, the blood comes away from the gut, you become resistant to certain hormones, insulin resistance, leptin resistance, all the stuff that regulates your hunger. Your blood sugar levels get completely out of whack because they go up, so that you've got fuel ready to be able to fight or run or whatever. And the only way to get enough energy in, sorry if the levels are a bit different by the way, trying to get the mic in place, but the only way to get enough energy in is to eat the densest, calorie dense foods you can find, which is where cravings come from. It's why a lot of people will crave nothing but junk food. They'll eat 6,000 calories of it in a day and still be starving, because their bodies can't take any energy in. And the problem there, most doctors will say, you're eating too much. The problem there isn't that you're eating too much, it's that you can't bloody absorb anything. You just can't, because your body is constantly demanding more to deal with the stress of your life, going on. It believes you need that fuel. That's why, I firmly believe no conscious restrictive diet that you apply will ever cure a problem like obesity or whatever, because you need that fuel. Your body is convinced that you need that fuel, and until you address the core issues, in the same way with like tinnitus and things like that, until you address the core things imbalancing you, causing you to stay in that adapted stress response state, you can deal with the symptoms all you like, they will always come back. It will always be an issue. And like for myself, I had acid reflux. It was a while back now, it was before the tinnitus spike and that, but I had it really bad, it would really burn. And that's a digestive issue, because spending all my time in this stressed out type state, the digestive system isn't getting any priority from the body whatsoever. All the energy is coming away from the digestive system to prep you for a fight, or for running, or all that sort of stuff, any of those types of things. And so The way I got rid of my acid reflux, I don't get it now, basically. I don't think I get it ever. Maybe if I spend all day eating junk food, which isn't often because I don't really crave junk food anymore. I don't like sugary drinks, that sort of stuff, which amazes a lot of people that I deal with, but I don't. I genuinely don't crave it. I haven't cut them out of my diet. I'm just not hungry or thirsty for them. But yeah, the only way that I got the acid reflux to heal was try to spend more time in a relaxed state. I've been at it for a while, still learning. But yeah, try to spend more time in a relaxed state and stay in that state long enough for your body to start to heal, you know, for your brain to decide, okay, put some energy back towards the digestive system. You activate the parasympathetic state, systems start to heal. A lot of people I've talked to on here have said that their IBS started to recover, sometimes drastically, when they started to focus on the emotional factors. And, you know, it's hard to deal with because it's hard to quantify this stuff, especially when, like I say, you get a freeze response to stress and it becomes hard to tell what's going on. But you know, my main advice to anyone watching these videos is, yeah, read the paper that I'll post in the links down below, because it starts to go into some of the, you know, scientific details of, like, what I've said in the past. I don't know if I've repeated this. I've tried to do this video a few times because, you know, things are busy and that. I'm struggling to articulate my thoughts like usual. But yeah, it goes into some of the details of why the way you think and feel affects how you're built physically. You know, it explains why if you have a bad day at work, you can, you know, you'll get diarrhea or constipation or stuff like that. You know, which seems crazy because, you know, you just had a bad day at work. Surely it doesn't require, you know, surely it doesn't mean that your body will change physically in that way, but it does. It completely, absolutely does. They are completely connected. We've got to stop thinking of the body, the mind, and, you know, your emotions and all that. We've got to stop thinking of them as separate things, because they're completely just, they're a straight line. They are completely connected, you know. There is no distinction between them. Everything that goes on in our bodies, the way we respond, is to deal with what we perceive is going on in the world around us. And this is why it's hard to address. This is why it's taking me so long to deal with my tinnitus and things like that, is because it's hard to address all this emotional stuff, especially with the way the body is wired to filter out the good things and find the bad. It will absolutely filter out and find the needle, you know, the needle in the haystack in terms of emotional stress, because that's a survival mechanism. That's so that we can, you know, take on board, like, I think I may have used the example already, but, you know, getting bitten by a dog. Just, well, yeah, if there's a genuine threat from a, you know, something like that, that might seem friendly and happy and completely a non-issue. If there's any type of threat, your body wants to know. It wants to make sure that it can ensure your survival in any way that it can. So yeah, you'll remember the bad time. You'll remember getting bitten by that dog every time you deal with the dog afterwards. And that applies to everything in our lives. I'm an absolute prime example, you know. I'm trying to deal with undoing about 10 years of viewing the world as a horribly stressful place where everything is negative, nothing feeds me, everything takes away, you know, constantly in that state. And I won't go into too many details because I could be rambling for hours on the specifics, and they just don't matter. A lot of it is that my brain has been that overactive because, you know, sympathetic nervous system activation. I'm looking for things that I can do to ensure my survival, and that's why I, you know, look at the health stuff, or it's a large reason why. A lot of it's just plain interesting, but it's why I've looked through so much of this stuff. It's why I've come to the conclusions I've come to. I'm trying to make sure, you know, subconsciously, that I know I'll be okay, you know. Where the problem is, though, the true answer is, like I say, it's always on the surface. Just, emotional stress causes tinnitus, get rid of the emotional stress, done. The problem is, very few of us take that seriously and carry it through to the point where we see a genuine change, because it's such a given. There is such a weight placed on living in this stressed out state now, because of the way our world is built. And I'm not saying, you know, technology is the devil or anything like that, you know, demons or whatever. That's just stuff. It's the way we're responding, it's the way we're living, because it's completely unnatural, the way we're responding to this stuff. We have to place more weight on relaxing and calming down and feeling better in ourselves. And I don't mean dealing with the symptoms, you know, like, well, you know, tinnitus, for example. I mean, we got to address the core things just for the sake of addressing them. I find the less I focus on the tinnitus and doing things to change it, and the more I focus on just feeling better, the quicker it responds, you know, the quicker it tends to actually move in the direction I want it to. But it's hard. It's hard to stop being so overactive mentally and to relax and let it emotionally happen, but it's got to be done. And reading this stuff, you know, like in the paper I've posted below, seriously, go read it, it's really good. Reading that stuff is really helpful because it intellectually is reassuring, which allows me to take that leap of faith and just, right, stop thinking about it, stop worrying, go do the stuff, feel better emotionally, do that. And yeah, that makes a physical impact. It really does. So anyway, there's all sorts of things I could ramble on about, but I get the feeling that I wouldn't be able to join it up too well because I'm a little, distracted at the moment and addled and stuff. So I'll just keep it to the point for now and say that my tinnitus is improving, slowly but surely. This stuff is hard to filter through because, again, the emotional stuff, you will be drawn towards the bad. But given enough time and enough, I was going to say effort, but I don't like the way that sounds. Given enough time working towards feeling better and putting good emotions into our lives and good feelings for our subconscious mind to draw from, we can stop viewing the world as a stressful place. We can stop viewing it so negatively. And that helps, because once you're viewing the world negatively, everything becomes more stressful and you get more negative experience to draw from that your body will interpret. You need to respond, in that way to feel safe, So I hope that come out right, because it's hard to word all this stuff, because I'm just sort of winging it as usual with these videos. Back in a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so basically, the more you do, the more positive you are. If it's a bit of meditation in the day, or focusing on breathing deep and relaxing, or anything like that, or one thing I like to do is just rub my feet on the carpet, or things like that. Feel, connect with your body, touch, or cold surfaces, It like a child. Again, I've used that several times, but they're right on the money. It's why children tend to have so few health problems compared to adults. It's because they have way less negative experience to draw from. Their bodies aren't, interpreting the world like that. They aren't comparing it to past bad experiences and then projecting onto the new stimulus and getting a negative physical response off of it, Again, this stuff is hard to word. It really is. But yeah, read the paper. It puts it pretty well, I haven't read all the ones on that site yet, but it seems to be really good. And I'm not affiliated or anything. I just, I always enjoy it when I find little nuggets in amongst the internet, because a lot of it is bollocks on the internet. A lot of stuff, you got to filter through a lot of crap before you find the good bits. But yeah, the stuff I've been reading there seems to be really good. It explains the physical connection, between your emotions and how your nervous system responds, which is very applicable to us tinnitus sufferers. So, read that stuff and try to figure out how it applies to your life. But the main takeaway, I think, for everyone, it seems a bit, general or whatever, and obviously all of our situations are completely unique and very specific, but the general rule is always, the more you can relax, the more you can feel safe and calm and content, and the more good things that you can make happen in your life, that you can feel, the more good stuff that you can draw in and, get your brain to register, the less strongly you will respond in a negative way. So you will be able to spend more time in a good state, and just keep working at that, and it adds up. Like I say, my tinnitus is improving for doing this stuff. It really is. It's back to a stage where it's responding. Yep, clicked off there for a second or so. It hasn't done that for months. And that lets me know, even though it's drawing my attention to it, it lets me know that I'm definitely on the right track, because I'm starting to experience quieter patches now, and it may only be a second, and I may have to do it physically, but the point is it's working. It's getting there. It really is, even now, and it's frustrating at times as well, having to constantly, deliberately keep focusing on positive things, because it doesn't feel natural. Because I've spent so long in a negative state, wired a certain way, and I have to change that. Obviously it's going to feel unnatural. What's natural to me is responding to everything as if it's going to kill me, basically. And that sounds very dramatic, but you know what I mean. I'm used to responding to everything negatively, having to do anything, having to, I'm used to responding to everything in a stressful way. Everything triggers me to spend more time in the sympathetic nervous system state than the parasympathetic, and I have to start leaning it back that way into the good one, which will allow my digestive system to get better, the tinnitus will come down, nervous system will get quieter, all sorts of things. Like I say, the big bit, the reason I knew that I'm onto definitely the right path is because my sleep pattern is stable now. It's been stable since it changed, and it hadn't been stable for years. I wake up at about 10:30 every day, and if I go to bed later, I will get up a bit later, and that'll be it, and I will still go to bed at roughly the same time. My body has actually changed into a pattern. I haven't had a sleeping pattern for years. It had been completely irregular. So yeah, it's having very definite physical effects on me. Just relaxing more and trying to focus on the good and trying to minimize the bad stuff in my life. It's definitely impacting me physically. So, I hope that that's helpful to you. I hope that you can take that and give it a try in your own lives, because it will have an effect. It will take time. You won't notice it immediately, but the more time we spend in the parasympathetic nervous system state, or with it activated, whatever way it's put, whatever way it's worded, the more time we spend in that, the easier it will be to spend time in that state, and the more we will adapt back to a relaxed state. Health problems will start to disappear, certain chronic ones and all that. And yeah, we'll get better and better, and the tinnitus will go. So, I think I've rambled enough. This might have actually ended up being fairly long, but yeah. So I hope this helps. Please check out the link, And yeah, nice talking to you guys. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.